Hello दोस्तों. So in today's episode we have our guest Safak Ibrahim, and basically she is a psychologist, and she has been working for last 21 years, I think, in the same field.
10 years.
Apart from, yeah, okay. So apart from that, she also has a wide experience in different fields. Like you have been in international relations, you have worked with in that field also. Another one is that administration part. Like you also have been the freelance translator, language assessment, consultancy, etc. Like you have very wide dimension in your experience built. Like, and now currently you are active with your freelance or your startup, the Safak Effect, which
Sure.
basically works on psychology, behavior transformation, uh, then mind transformation. Can we can say also. So like, and apart from working in that, also you have a bachelor degree in psychology,
Yeah,
which is also accredited by British Psychology Society.
that's right.
So like, I will start from here only. How did you got interested in this psychology part, like human behavior and all other things?
Of course,
So
of
if you can
course.
elaborate on that.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction, and thank you very much for having me on your show as well.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be here. Well, I've always been interested in human behavior, in behavioral science since I was little. Since I've gone through a lot of various, I would say I had quite difficult relationships. I was married before, and I've also just separated, and I had quite a long difficult relationships which I was going through in terms of a lot of traumatic experiences, a lot of abusive experiences, which actually formed my understanding of how people behave, how the brain works, how the mind works, how all these different attitudes are, and how people actually act in a very different way. So that's how I came about. And then I started working in mental health. I've started initially as an interpreter and spoke various languages, was helping many people. But at the same time, very quickly, I went into the mental health sector where I discovered that people's behavior coming from different cultures, speaking various languages, they could have the same condition, but they would act very differently. So I was able to spot the difference just because I could understand the language, the culture, the differences. And I was grabbing onto that in that way that other people, other psychologists, other consultants may have not been able to do so. So I found very quickly that I was very, very capable of coming into a room and feeling someone's energy. It was so fascinating to feel what they're feeling, to actually analyze quickly a situation and create solutions for that. So that's how I came about, that I was so interested in the human mind, in the brain, in the brain, how the brain works, how these different attitude works, how does somebody from, for instance, South India act so different than someone from North India, and someone from Europe, and someone from Germany, and someone from Pakistan, and someone from Asia. So all these different things have just fascinated me. And I was very able to adapt myself, because if I would sit down with someone from the Sikh culture, for instance, they often thought I was a Sikh. If I sit
Okay.
down with someone from the South Indian culture, for instance, they would think I'm a Hindu. It was just the way how I could adapt to that person very, very quickly to understand where that person is coming from and what their behavior is. So that's how I got into psychology, because it just fascinated me. And because my understanding from my background as well, from these experiences which I've gathered, I started understanding that all these things which I've learned in experiences, I didn't see them as trauma. I saw them as opportunities of knowledge. It was like
Definitely.
getting knowledge from that. What have I learned from this? And that's what I could then imply and understand in the practice which I was doing with the clients. Oh, this behavior is linked to this, and this behavior is linked to that. And that is why this person is acting a certain way. And one time a consultant said to me, she was working with me together with another client in mental health. That client was suffering with a lot of personality disorders, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety. And she said to me, it was over a period of 1 year, where she said to me at the end of the year, we became friends. And she said to me, Shafak, I think you don't act like someone as a third person in the room. When you come into the room, you act like my extended arm. So I don't even feel that you're a third person. I just feel I'm speaking through you. And that's how I conduct my sessions. So she said, you should do that as a full-time career. Go and study psychology and become a psychologist and treat patients yourself. So once I then got into psychology and I've done my degree, I then thought psychology in UK is very limited. You have certain therapy types, you have certain places, and you have to deal with the client in a very different way, very, very limited. So I thought, I don't want to be limited. I want to help the client how I feel I want to help the client. What is best for the client, how I can feel their energy and then adapt to their energy. And the best way to do so was to go into coaching. So I became a mind coach because I thought that would actually give me the freedom of working with a client on one-to-one basis and helping them transform their life, transform their mind, recondition their mind, and just feel free suddenly, feel at peace, feel different, and see the world with different eyes.
Definitely. So I'm really very sorry, for your difficult times that you explained. And
That's
then
okay.
I also want to, and I also want to congratulate you for that, because you converted that into an opportunity. And I think that also helped you to adapting different personalities that you explained already. It's like wherever you go to any different culture, you adopt very quickly. So that's a very nice skill, I would say, because you really worked on that also. And now currently you are working with continuing the same psychology with your startup, or and you have founded that Safak effect. So can you again explain me about that also? It's like the
Yes.
Safak effect. So what it is and how it is working.
Of course, of course. So what it is, you see a lot of life coaches, mind coach is something which I developed. Yes, there are mind coaches there, but the main term of my profession is a life coach, which means that you actually have clients. The clients come to you with a problem and they want to search a certain goal. They want to seek a certain goal. So some people would say, oh, I want to complete my exams. I want to excel in my exams, or I have problems at my jobs, exceeding in my profession, and I don't know what the problem is. So some people come in relationship problems, I can't find the right partner, I can't fall in love, or that person has left me and I'm completely confused. So all these kind of things are goals. So that's why people come to coaches, life coaches, and ask for a solution, ask them to help them achieve their goal. But during this time, and that is why I created my own program, when you look at the pandemic itself, you see how many people are suffering. So when you look at life coaches, their main thing is to focus on someone's goal, to achieve their goal. But how can you achieve someone's goal if that foundation of that person is broken? It needs to be repaired. So
Definitely.
looking at the pandemic itself, a lot of people suffering with their mental health, they have anxiety, they have depression, and leading them just to one goal, what they want to do, that you may, as a life coach, get them a job, for instance, or get them towards their goal if they want a job, if they want, for instance, repair their relationship. But the foundation, if that is not healed, if that's not repaired, then every time they have a new goal in life, which you always have, you always put a new goal in your mind. I want to achieve this, I want to do that today. You will always be broken. So you have to seek a mind coach or life coach again. So I thought, I don't want to do that. I want to help the person from the core, where the problem lies, because once you repair that foundation, you can then fulfill any goals, you can achieve anything, you can become anything once you start understanding that yourself. So because I developed then over time now into a very, very strong expert in emotional intelligence. And let me just explain quickly what emotional intelligence means. Emotional intelligence is a form of a combination of experiences, life experiences, but as well as understanding how to move forward in life from goal to goal, from point to point, in a way which is which doesn't let you take over your emotions. So your emotions of anger, of love, of commitment, of confusion, of frustration, of anxiety, all these different emotions which come up. Once you know how to manage them, how to control them, that's when you move on in emotional intelligence. That's when you evolve. And that's when you can channel them in the right way to use them at the right point. That's what emotional intelligence means. And I became kind of an expert in this, where I thought I need to follow this in that way, because this is the only way to evolve, to thrive. We are not enough to live or to survive. We need to thrive in life to do better.
Definitely.
To enjoy life. So, and to do that, I then created the Shafak effect. And the Shafak effect came about because it's a very catchy kind of hashtag. If you look on Google, Google now took me on, which is quite a privilege. If you put in hashtag the Shafak effect, it will straight up come on with all my social media accounts and all my content. And the reason why for that is because it's something very different. People have never heard of that. I wanted to make a combination of the glamour world and the academic world and join them together. That's what I wanted to do. And the reason for that is not for me to be any, like a top model or anything. That was not my intention. But I thought most of the academics which come out with content, they're very one-sided. People don't often understand them. They have a very distant view of, this is the therapist or this is the coach and I'm here. I'm the little person who needs help. That's not how it should be. It should be interaction with each other, a flowing interaction. And I thought my content need to relate to everybody in this planet. Wherever you come from, a village, a gaon, in South India or in Africa, wherever you live, or you come from the top banking world. As you know, I'm a former banker as well. So everybody needs to be able to relate to that. So everything in my content has facts inside, research-based facts, but at the same time, it's fun. It's so easy to understand. Everybody can understand, oh, she's talking about self-kindness or self-care or, simple things like this, but they're put in a way that everybody can relate to that. You can take always something out and put it into your own life and use it. And that's what I wanted to do with the Shafak effect. So I created a program in my Shafak effect where I would accompany a client through a journey of self-discovery. So as I said, I'm talking about the foundation itself. Once you repair your foundation, you can deal with any challenges. So
Yeah,
we start unfolding your mind, because the way how people have grown up, we have grown up in our society, culture, no matter where you come from.
definitely. So like just to add your points that you explained. So like I'm just giving an example. Like in our family, so like all the people understand each other. So it becomes so comfortable to talk, to like say anything. So I can just imagine how like enjoyable it becomes for you. Like you can understand many strange people within like a short period of time,
Yeah,
and then once you understand it, then how enjoyable it becomes to like communicate, to say all the problems and to solve that. Like
absolutely.
yeah. So and the second point which you said about like we should unlearn the things that is not necessary, and then like just to fill that void, we should go for learning the things that will help us in our life, in day to day life, like we can say in our professional life also. So like it was very beautiful explanation, and then you also explained about emotional intelligence, which was my next question that I was going to ask you. So like moving forward then, like how do you see depression in this pandemic times? And like how do you suggest to people how should they deal with it?
What it is, depression, anxiety, all these different mental health disorders, conditions, they don't just come, you don't just wake up tomorrow and you suffer with that. It doesn't happen like this. They come over time. So it's like addiction. You start drinking alcohol, for instance, you don't become
Okay.
addicted. But over time, when you think, oh, let me have every Friday a glass, let me have every weekend something with my friends, that's when it becomes a habit. That's when it becomes addiction. So mental health is very similar, what especially people from Asia don't understand. It's a very serious illness itself. You know, it's not just
Yeah.
कोई पागल हो गया है तो घूम रहा है पागलों की तरह. That's not what it is. Depression and mental health can affect anybody. They can affect you, they can affect me, they can affect anybody. And that comes from outside environment, tension, traumas, experiences, happy times, sad times. It could come from anything, or loss of people, for instance, somebody dies, somebody becomes ill, all these kind of things cause mental health stress. So
Yeah.
it starts with the stress. Stress means that your body becomes intense. It becomes, and that's where neuroscience comes in, because I work in neuroscience as well, as you know, with brain injury clients.
Yeah.
So your body becomes intense, your blood pressure goes up, your blood circulation goes up, and it's a defense mechanism in your brain which says, this is a threat. We need to be careful. That's what it is. But it's not a problem if it's just that moment. It becomes a problem and develops further when it actually overtakes your thoughts, overtakes your daily thoughts. So you cannot think normal. You cannot act normal. You cannot function normal. That's when it starts then becoming a habit. Do you really know who you are? If you knew who you are, you would be actually a very happy soul. So let's find out who you
Definitely.
really
Yeah.
are. So I challenge them. I say to them, look, let's find out who you are. Let's discover yourself. Let's see what you like, what you really like, not what your mom has told you or what your brother or dad has told you. Let's find out who you really are. Who are you? And that's how you start the journey with the client, where you sit down and start discovering things, so where they then unfold things. Oh, I don't actually like that because that's been told by this person, or I've always been told to behave like this, but I didn't actually like this. Is that a healthy way to be? So once you start discovering these different habits and you putting them together, they don't have to be bad habits. You know, sometimes they can be just unachievable because we're so different people, we're individuals ourselves. But once we analyzing them and we discovering them and we identify them, then all these other things about, oh, okay, I'm a poor person, but it doesn't matter. I can find someone who is spiritually maybe on my level. Maybe money is not important for the other person. So I can find a partner.
So, like going through your example of that racial discrimination and then your post, and then explanation like how you can channelize the energy. So, in India, there is a one mind coach called Sadhguru. I hope you heard about
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
So, so like I just remembered a quote from him. So he just explained to a person who was asking the same questions, like how to overcome from depression or you channelize your energy. Then he just explained a simple thing, like this is your body. So now you have to decide if it should be self-start or should be controlled by someone else.
Yeah.
So like once you go for the self-start thing, then you are the person who is controlling it
Yeah.
in any adverse situation. And that you already explained through the different kind of meditation and yoga and all other thing. You can focus on that and you can have that control. In other way, if you like give the control to other person, then anyone can like handle you in any way,
Yeah.
and from there it comes like depression, stress, all other things that you are saying. So it is a very good thing, like if it is your body, then you have to control it, then only you can be like happy and in a like you can live your life in a present situation, not going for past or a future. So like okay, so these are your different current works that you are going, and then you also have experience in corporate and political fields. So like how do you see that in current situation, the corporate thing in this pandemic?
The corporate thing in this pandemic is very tricky. That's why I don't talk much about politics, because politics is a very different world. You know, you can you can never put
Yeah,
politics right ever, no matter what
yeah,
you try. There's always some controversy happening. So the best way to deal with that, what I do is you use your mind and your common sense. Don't believe everything what is happening, and don't believe everything which you see, hear, feel, touch, all these kind of things. Try to use your senses in a way where it starts making sense. So not by other people, not by the media, not by what you've learned again, you know, how you've been conditioned again. Try to make sense of what it is, and then find out what is exactly happening, because that will actually create less anxiety within yourself. You won't be so
yeah,
outraged suddenly listening to all of this and thinking, oh, that is really bad, and they're horrible people, or this is not good. You know, you start using your stimulating your own brain cells, and let me find out what it actually means, what is exactly happening.
yeah.
So that's how you deal with these kind of things, and that's how you actually make sense of politics in a better way.
We are already to the end of this video, so like at the end, so I just want like you to suggest people, young professionals who are searching for jobs and for any other work. And also this pandemic is not going to end very soon by going through the data and all other thing. Like what do you want to suggest for the people, like since they are searching for money, they are searching for jobs and all other things, like how should they behave, how should they control themselves in this tough times, like
That's a very good question, actually, because it relates to all these difficulties which people are facing. I think what it is, again, one point is whatever experiences you have, try not to be the victim of your experiences. Try to master them and find out what have you learned from these experiences. That is the first point.
definitely.
The other point is that you don't lose self-belief and self-hope. Never ever lose that. Always try to find solutions. So if plan A doesn't work, for instance, you apply for 100 jobs, it's not working, try to sit back and find out, what could be the reason? What can I invent new to change, to maybe move in a different direction, or change slightly the way how you act, or how your presentation is? Could be anything. So try to analyze that, because that may make a crucial difference to yourself. Suddenly try to find options. Options are always good in life to have. So if you don't have, if plan A doesn't work, and that's what my philosophy is, look for plan B, create a plan C, create a plan D, and keep going. Because one time you will succeed. And the reason why you will succeed is discipline, determination, and the drive to go forward. That's what makes you successful.
What we can say is, like, just you have to take control of yourself. Even if you can't, then you should try for that.
That's right. And it's not the control itself, because if you tell people you need to take control on yourself, which you said earlier, or let other people control you, people won't understand that. You need to explain it in a very different way. Tell them.
No, you already did that.
Absolutely. So once you do that in that way, then people start understanding, oh yes, it sounds actually quite easy. It's not a homework. It can just happen. I just have to reset my mind. I just have to sit back and think.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So joining for this podcast and for this very detailed and brief explanation about the things which are very much general in the market, but they are not getting it. The answers, they are not getting it from the people or any other platform. So it will definitely help the people who watches it. So again, thank you very much for joining this podcast, and thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It's wonderful.